Hello, my name is Jen Mazzoni, and today I'm going to present on my digital archival collection, LGBTQ plus Public Art in the United States, which is for the Digital Curation course. First, I'm going to speak about the collection. It consists of 30 digital images of public art created by a variety of LGBTQ plus artists with a focus on artists of color. There are many types of art represented throughout the collection. The majority are mural paintings, but there are also statues, monuments. I even found one fountain from 1873. There are mosaics, other installations, and sculptures. I wanted to cover a variety of themes such as pride, youth upliftment, intersectionality, and I wanted to make sure there was inclusion of trans folks as well. The works range from 1873 to 2024. Most of the works are currently on public display. However, some were temporary exhibits which have been taken down and reinstalled in other places. And unfortunately, one mural was whitewashed without the artist's permission, and I will feature that piece during the tour at the end of the presentation. Throughout the presentation, I also wanted to feature some of the other images and some of the artists that are part of this collection, such as LaToya Peoples, who is standing with her mural, Our Pride, in California. The reason behind this collection, the inspiration for it all, has to do with the current administration and the attempts to erase words regarding differences in gender, differences in sexual orientation, against women, against trans folks, against people of color, anti-DEI measures that are happening right now. And that inspired me to want to share art by people from diverse backgrounds and just to demonstrate that there has always been a special relationship between public art and LGBTQ plus folks, and that there's a form of activism and resilience through this art. Public art is available and open to everyone, but because it's open and ephemeral, there is danger of it being destroyed or damaged by weather. But again, there's also chances of it being vandalized or completely defaced. So, in order to preserve this art, digital archives is a great way of keeping this public art safe and able to share with people on different platforms. When I was building the collection, first I wanted to develop my criteria that I had in mind. And I wanted to start with using the best practices for the file format. I wanted to follow the Library of Congress preferred file formats, which include JPEGs and PNGs. So this collection consists of those types of files for the digital images. I also wanted to make sure that this art was public or had been public at some time. So that way it was open to all without any sort of admission fee or any sort of barrier, completely accessible. The work had to be done by an LGBTQ plus artist, although one of the pieces, which was a mural, was done by an ally who is a sister of someone who is LGBTQ plus. And again, as I mentioned before, I wanted to prioritize artists of color. A lot of times with queer art and queer media, it tends to be very white-centered, white-focused, and I really wanted to prioritize intersectionality in the queer community because we need more of that. We need to show more racial and ethnic diversity within the queer community. And my final requirement was that all of the art had to come from the United States. Even though there is beautiful public art by LGBTQ plus artists from around the world, this specifically was looking at the United States. And they all are coming from cities and urban areas. I started out looking at New York City's LGBTQ plus sites for art, and then branched out from there, looking at Chicago, looking at the West Coast. And then I also wanted to branch out into the South because LGBTQ plus people are everywhere, and they do not just live in New York City. So I really wanted to show that we are everywhere and there's representation throughout the United States. I also wanted to ensure that there were no dead names being used. I did some verification on social media and artist websites. Most of the artists had Instagram pages to visit, to verify that I was using their correct current name. And some of the art is interactive, as you can see in this photo. There is a visitor who's interacting with one of the sculptures, which was almost a monument for a trans woman who had been killed. So this dream machine of the butterfly sculpture was meant to be a monument to a queer trans woman named Andera. Next, I had to make some metadata decisions. I wanted to use Dublin Core elements because I found that to be the most comprehensive in how to describe each of the images. My biggest decisions happened in the controlled vocabularies when I was thinking of subject headings. I did not want to use the Library of Congress subject headings. They are not representative of LGBTQ plus materials. They use outdated and offensive terminology. So I chose to use a specific controlled vocabulary called the Homosaurus. They have a very fun logo, as you can see. And they just had much more options regarding race, ethnicity, gender, and sexual orientation. As for using Omeka, I am a first-time user of Omeka, and I found it to be very user-friendly. Creating the metadata felt very intuitive. Uploading all my files was fairly easy. I also appreciated the opportunity for the batch actions, so I was able to add multiple items from my item set to our class site. And overall, the site navigation is fairly easy to use, and I really enjoyed being able to use Omeka for the first time. Finally, I would like to take you on a tour of the collection. I have a few more artists here that I featured. Sam Kirk, who's from Pilsen in Chicago, and artist Lauren Y.S., who uses they, them pronouns. Their work can be found in California. And now I'm going to show you some of my items from the item set. I wanted to feature the piece that had been whitewashed first. This mural is called Honoring Gloria, and it was a commission piece for an activist named Gloria Casares from Philadelphia, and she was an activist who died from cancer in 2014. So in 2015, the artist Michelle Angela Ortiz was commissioned to create this piece for her. Unfortunately, in 2020, developers decided to whitewash this mural completely. Thankfully, because of photography and digital preservation, we're still able to have some preservation of this mural, but it doesn't take away the pain of losing it. I also wanted to share a few pieces from an indigenous artist named Jeffrey Gibson. He has a few pieces in this collection. His name is Jeffrey Gibson, and he has work in New York and in Boston and throughout the United States. One of his was pretty unique because it's this huge physical installation that he created for Socrates Sculpture Park. And it just looked like an excellent interactive piece that incorporated a lot of indigenous themes and showed the intersectionality between being Native American and being LGBTQ+. And it's called Because Once You Enter My House, It Becomes Our House. And it was on display in the park for a year, from 2020 until 2021. It was a pandemic-friendly exhibit that was outdoors that anyone could come and experience. And finally, I'm going to share one more of Jeffrey Gibson's pieces that I included, just because I really love how colorful it is and how public it is. It can be seen on the Rose Kennedy Greenway in Boston, Massachusetts. And it is called Your Spirit Whispering in My Ear, and is also one of the most current pieces in this collection from September of 2024. And there's just a great use of color, some graphic arts, And that's just something I really wanted to share with everyone. These pieces from Jeffrey Gibson. I do have one final piece that was another unique way of doing public art, and it was a project called Art in Ad Places. And with Art in Ad Places, they buy ad space and they create graphic arts with it. And one of them was created by Rise Indigenous. And I'll show you an example. And it was just simply called Justice for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, Trans, Femmes, and Two Spirits. And this was a project done during the pandemic in 2020. And as you can see, it's open for anyone to see. I'm just walking down the street. And digitally we can preserve it because eventually that space will get bought by something else. But for the time being, it was there and visible and accessible to everyone. Thank you very much for attending my presentation. If there are any questions, feel free to leave them for me in the discussion board. Thank you very much.